Cheers, hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video. And in today's video, I'm going to be predicting the Bivol versus Zinad fight. And so, if you're new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, going into this fight, Bivol is 22-0 with 11 KOs, and Zinad is 22-0 with 16 KOs. This fight's for the IBO and WBA Super World Light Heavyweight titles. Bivol's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Arthur, and Zinad's last fight was a win via majority decision versus Pampeon. Zinad is coming in on short notice due to Beterbiev pulling out, and to speak a bit more about what I've just been saying there, of course, Zinad has been given this opportunity, this huge opportunity to fight Bivol, coming in on short notice after seemingly not really getting any opportunities in the past few years, to be completely honest, and he's not really been that active as a result of it. But he then fought Pampeon, in which he won, and he won relatively well, and now he's been sat in the IBF top rankings, and I suppose it showcases that the rankings are important. Obviously, the IBF title isn't on the line for this, but if you get yourself in a position to deservedly warrant a title shot, then something like this can happen and you can just get thrown in even if it is on short notice. And so obviously all the odds are stacked against him, and he's going to fight Bivol, where Bivol is the clear favourite. And I mean, Zinad has had that a little bit of experience of fighting in other people's countries in that last fight of his and finding success from that, and I suppose he seems very, very determined, and he is wanting to become, from what I believe, the first ever Libyan world champion, and I believe he is the first ever Libyan world title challenger at the moment. And so he's already breaking records for his country, and I'm sure he's going to be wanting, like I say, to become that world champion and to really cement history for himself. And he's coming off a last fight which was interesting. There was quite a lot of issues that I saw in his game. I thought he probably would lose that fight, but obviously he didn't. I did a prediction, well, a part of a prediction for that fight, and like I say, I thought he would lose. He boxed relatively well, he used his jab well, used his straight shots in general well, and was consistently landing with them shots and didn't really seem too phased about what was coming back at him, and he just was taking a lot of punishment and was getting caught a lot. And it's credit to him to show that he has a good chin and he's willing to take a shot, and he can take a shot. But Bivol, of course, isn't known for being too incredibly powerful of a puncher, but he is going to really let his hands go and really going to punish you. And if he finds them openings, which there seems to be a lot on Zinad, it's going to be intriguing to see how he deals with it. And Bivol, obviously, his last fight was against Arthur, Lyndon Arthur, and it was a very easy fight for him, really, to be completely honest. He looked very impressive throughout all of it, and he made it seem comfortable work, to be completely honest. And he didn't overlook, from what I thought, Arthur, and that's nice to see, because he very easily could overlook Zinad coming into this fight, of course, thinking that he was going to fight Beterbiev, training to fight Beterbiev, and then now fighting somebody who is seen as a bit of an unknown to an extent, and he could very much overlook Zinad, and think about that next option, which we've seen that happen a lot. But it's hopeful that that doesn't happen. I'm hopeful that doesn't happen, and of course we'll have to wait and see. But to speak about Bivol as a fighter, he is very well disciplined, and that is something in which he's always seemed to pride himself very much in. He's very well disciplined, and he'll go in, throw them combinations that he needs to, then step back out and not get greedy with his work, not try and force the fight, not overextend his punches. Just very disciplined and sticks to a game plan, knows what he has to do to be able to win, and that's what he did against Arthur, that's what he did against Canelo, that's what he's done in majority of his fights, to be completely honest, where he is just consistently disciplined, resets well, makes adjustments when necessary. He's got that high IQ, he's sharp, he's accurate in his work in the process, he is gonna be throwing a decent variety of punches, and he is accurate in that. Like I say, he's well conditioned, but I also credit that to the discipline that he does have to be able to stop throwing punches. Like I say, take a step back, get his breath back if he needs, or just make sure that he's not overworking himself or doing too much. He's fluid, he's got very good footwork, he doesn't really stand still even if he is on the back foot, and he definitely didn't stand up on the ropes when he was against Canelo because that's where he knew Canelo would have a lot of his best work, but he pushed the pace against Canelo, wants to control the centre, he controls the pace, he controls the range really well, and in general he's just a very controlled fighter. He's got a nice high guard and he's very focused. When you have that high guard, he's just going to take them punches on the high guard, then respond back with his own counter punches himself, and so it's very difficult to find openings, to find gaps against him. And I think Zinad is somebody who will need gaps and found gaps versus Pampeon, but was relatively predictable in his work. But Pampeon just was accepting it. But I just don't think you'll be able to find the necessary gaps against Bivol. And if you can, I think you will be able to perhaps reset and be able to see that as a problem and make that adjustment. He's very fast for the weight that he's fighting at. He's willing to let his hands go as well, but like I say, in good short spurts. He's tough. He's got good tough combinations. They are strong combinations, and they're powerful, but they're not stupidly powerful. But they are got snap in them, and plants his feet really very well when he does. He can fight in close or at mid range. He's got controlled pressure when he's in front of you. He finds them gaps at a quick pace when he is letting his combinations go. He's finding them gaps very quickly. He works pretty much everything off his jab, which is just a beautiful jab of his. He doesn't seem to respect his opponent. Like I say, he fights to his game plan very much so and doesn't really seem to be too wary of the other person's game plan. He cuts off the ring well, and in general, he moves well, controls centre, so very well rounded, very good fighter, and has cemented himself as one of the pound for pound best at the moment. So he is deserving of these big headline Saudi pay per view event fights. And negatives about him, of course, like I say, he may be overlooking. Not entirely sure if he is. Don't necessarily know if that's in his mindset to be able to do that. But he might be. Of all the pressures on him, but like I say, I feel like he's more than used to that. Coming off that Arthur fight, which was, like I say, a clear shutout victory, he sometimes doesn't invest in the body quite as much as what I'd like to see, and when he does, it's really good. And when he landed that shot on Arthur, it was a beautiful shot that he landed to drop him with. But yeah, just in my opinion, I feel like sometimes he could do with investing to the body a little bit more and perhaps going around the guard with his punches a little bit more when he is getting you on the back foot. But this is just me nitpicking a little bit. Perhaps he has that lesser power than Zinad, so it'd be intriguing to see if Zinad doesn't really respect Bivol's power. He can be countered. He perhaps might become a little bit too aggressive. I don't necessarily rate Zinaz's countering ability too much, but he could become a little bit too aggressive and, like I say, just really want to go for a stoppage because he doesn't really get too many stoppages. But like I say, I'm not too sure if that's part of his game plan. He, in my opinion, a little bits at times could throw a little bit more. Like I say, it's disciplined, it's nice, it's in bunches that he throws, but just certain rounds perhaps a little bit more at times, and his head can sometimes be on the line. That's just, like I say, me nitpicking little things, to be honest. But to speak about Zinad as a fighter, he's determined. I've seen that, I've heard that in his interviews that he's done so far this week. He seems very determined, very locked in, like I say, wanting to seemingly do it for his country, and I got a lot of respect for that. And he's, yeah, like I say, he's got nothing to lose really, and he's coming in with that mindset. He's got a very good chin. He has proven that. He took some huge punches against Pampeon and seems to be able to just keep coming forward after taking them. It's not something which I agree with continuously doing, but he has got a very good chin. He's got good long shots. He will aim to keep you out of mid range, and if he can perhaps keep Bivol at mid range at times, he might be able to stop some of the attacking presence and force in which Bivol does have. And Bivol is perhaps a little bit more used to fighting fighters who maybe do want to get on the inside and get up and close, and Zinad's not really necessarily that. He is perhaps the more powerful. He's got a good jab. He lets his hands go when he's allowed that space and that time to do so. He's quite controlled in his work. He doesn't really seem ever too flustered or panicking or anything like that. He is nice. He's accurate in his work as well. He's used to being the away fighter as well, like I've mentioned, and so I don't feel like the occasion will be too much for him. And I suppose to speak about negatives in general, inactivity is something which I'm sure is going to play somewhat of a factor, as like I said, he's had that one fight, but before that, the opportunities were very slim, which is nothing to discredit from him. But it just seems like he has been inactive at times, and I'm sure that career-wise hasn't helped him. He can be flat-footed. I think in general his footwork is quite poor, and he does sit in range for a long time, and that's where he takes a lot of his punches. And he has his hands low, doesn't really have too much defensive of a guard, I suppose, and he stands quite tall. He can have his chin in the air at times as well, and he is gonna take shots, and he's there to be hit a lot of the time. And when you're against Bivol, who has such accurate, sharp reactions, counters, not necessarily going to be something in which he's going to play into Zinad's favour. These defensive issues, he can lean into throw his combinations at times and just kind of lunge in a little bit when he does so. He can be a bit too comfortable in range, and that's why I say he just kind of sits there a bit. He can just move back in a straight line as well, and I'm sure Bivol, like I say, who cuts off the ring very well, will be able to see this and counteract this. He's not overly fast, Zinad. He can be, like I say, predictable with them two straight shots in which he's going to probably continuously throw, where Bivol, even if his straight shots are landing, they're going to be able to feel like a little bit less predictable, and he can headhunt quite a lot of the time as well. I don't really think that necessarily he goes to the body. I think he goes to the body even less than that of Bivol, and so yeah, that's definitely something in which I don't think Bivol's going to have to worry about, in my opinion, too much. Bivol is the clear favourite for this fight, and I think that Bivol will win via unanimous decision. You can call that a boring prediction if you want, but I think that's the best, in my opinion, way that I think it's going to go. I think Zinad is going to be able to take punches. He's going to probably take a lot of punishment. I think he could perhaps, like I say, keep Bivol at a little bit of a range with his power at times. But I think as soon as Bivol's going to be able to suss out that predictability of him, or even if he just goes straight onto the front foot and doesn't allow that space from Zinad, I think Bivol's going to be able to do his best work, do land combinations consistently, catch Zinad clean quite a lot, and then be able to win from that. And then who we go on to fight next? Beterbiev has to be the only option, to be completely honest. It's really sad to see that this fight isn't at this time. It's a great fight, and I'm so excited for it. Of course, if this goes wrong, this fight, then it's going to be a huge shame and a huge tragedy, but it wouldn't even surprise me because that is boxing and that's what fans are becoming unfortunately used to at this point. But I respect Bivol for still wanting to fight and still wanting to keep active, and Beterbiev, I hope his injury is going to be all good and he's going to be able to come back and get this fight hopefully made by that October time, and yeah, hopefully it will be good. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did indeed like the video, subscribe if you are new, and thanks for watching.